The DJI Mavic Air 2 or the DJI Air 2S? Let's compare these two drones. Hey, my name's Jake, and today we're comparing the Air 2 to the Air 2S. Now, whether you're considering one of these drones as your first drone, or whether you're considering upgrading from the Air 2 to the Air 2S, today I want to break down all of the specs of both of these drones, give you the strengths of each and the weaknesses of each, so that you can make the best decision possible and hopefully buy a great drone or upgrade to a great drone that will really fit your needs. Let's break down the specs of the Air 2. The Air 2 weighs in at 570 grams. It has a 34-minute flight time, which is great. DJI says you can fly it down as low as cold as minus 10 Celsius, and believe me, I've flown this pretty cold temperatures before. It has a 1/1/2 inch quad Beyer sensor, which is a big improvement from the usual 1/2 inch sensor that you find. It's 12 megapixels for photos, but because it's quad Beyer, it can do something where it kind of treats each of the photo cells individually, and it will take what they call a 48 megapixel photo. And while that isn't a true 48 megapixel photo, it does add a little bit more detail to what would normally be the 12 megapixel photo. But if you're putting it on social media or websites, you're not really going to notice the difference anyway. So in the photo specs, it does take nice photos, especially the 12 megapixel photos. They look good. They're fine for social media and stuff like that. They're not the highest detail. They can be a little noisy, especially if you start getting into low light, but they're okay for stuff that's shared online. And in the photo modes, it will shoot JPEG or JPEG and RAW. When it comes to the video specs, this drone will shoot up to 4K 60. It will also shoot high dynamic range up to 4K 30, which basically means there's a little bit more dynamic range crammed into the sensor because of the quad Beyer system. But I never really used it because every time I used it, I noticed that it would tend to blow out the highlights and crush the shadows a little bit. And so I didn't really care for it that much. But you know, if you want the HDR, you can use the HDR. And then also this drone will shoot slow motion up to 240 frames a second in 1080. So if you like shooting things that are fast motion, fast pace, and you won't be able to slow it way down, this drone does shoot really nice slow motion. It's a little soft in 1080, just a tiny bit, but it's still really nice. And in video modes, it will shoot D-Cine-like, which is sort of a flat color profile that you can color grade a little bit, or normal. It has obstacle avoidance to the front, the rear, and the bottom. It doesn't have it on the top like the Air 2S. It has APAS, which means it can find its way through some obstacles. It has OcuSync 2.0, which is a good strong signal link that will get you more than beyond visual line of sight, which is not legal in most places, but it will get you way out there if you want to go that far out there. And of course it has active track, which works well from the rear, and from to the front it works pretty well, to the side it works well. Just remember, there are no side sensors, so if you're flying sideways and you run into something, you're going to crash for sure. The other thing it has is quick shots, like most DJI drones, where you can do a droney, a circle, helix, rocket, asteroid, all those things. You can do photo modes like hyperlapses, and it will do an 8K hyperlapse. And then we come to the Air 2S. The Air 2S weighs a little bit more at 595 grams, so 25 grams heavier, and that also brings the flight time down about 3 minutes to 31 minutes. I've found it's 25, 26 minutes, which seems to be the case. You always get about 5 minutes less flight time than what they say. And interestingly, DJI says you can only fly this down to about 0 degrees Celsius. Now, I live in a cold climate, and if you take care of things well, you should be able to fly below that, provided you keep your batteries warm before you fly. But if you live in cold climates, this may not be the best drone for you. Then we come to the sensor, and that's where this drone really shines, and it's all the big news and the big rage, because why would they get you to buy something new if they didn't upgrade something? So they did upgrade something. They put a 1-inch sensor on here, which is also capable of 10-bit color. Now, the 1-inch sensor is a 20 megapixel photo sensor, which will shoot JPEG or RAW, or JPEG plus RAW, I should say. And the 20 megapixel photos look really great. They're really detailed and have about 12.5 stops of dynamic range, which is really nice if you like to work with them in post and push and pull the image around. And then we come to the video specs. Now the video specs on this drone are really nice. It will shoot up to 5.4K resolution, up to 30 frames a second in D-Log, which is 10-bit color, which is great if you want to color grade or push and pull the colors around in post and really get the most out of your image. It'll also shoot in HLG, which is kind of an odd flat color profile that has a different gamma curve on the top with the highlights. I never really use it, but if you shoot other cameras in HLG, you might have an easier time matching this footage up with it if you shoot this in HLG, and then it'll shoot in normal mode. It will also shoot 4K up to 60 frames a second. There's no HDR. And it will shoot slow motion up to 120 frames a second in 1080p, but not 240 frames a second in 1080p. And this drone will give you up to a 4x optical zoom in 4K, as well as a 2x optical zoom in 4K, which I recommend because that still looks really good. The 4x starts to look just a touch soft, but I mean, it's usable for stuff on social media for sure. This comes with OcuSync 3.0, which is DJI's latest signal link, which gives you more range. You don't need that much range because you can't see these drones that far off, but the thing that it does come in handy for is when you're flying close by and there's a lot of other signal interference, it keeps that link very strong. And I noticed between flying these two drones that the signal link, the lag on the signal link was less on the Air 2, which is a characteristic of OcuSync 3.0. The other place you would notice a difference is if you're flying around obstacles like trees, on the other side of trees, or through a bunch of trees, then you're going to maintain a better signal link with this than you would something with OcuSync 2.0. Of course, this has active track, but it improved active track. I didn't really notice a difference today, but it does a good job from the front, from the rear, and from the sides. It also has obstacle avoidance in the front, the rear, and the bottom. Also on the top, which means with the new APAS system 4.0, which is the automated flight path planning system, this will have the opportunity to go under a lot easier than the Air 2 because of the upward obstacle avoidance. Or if you fly in places where you're flying under tree cover a lot or through tunnels or something like that, this drone will handle that better because it has the upward obstacle avoidance. And then of course it has all the smart modes that the Air 2 has, just like any other DJI drone pretty much that's been released in the last couple of years. You've got quick shots that are great. You've got photo modes that you can do, panoramas, 360s, you can do wide photos, smart photo mode, which is really nice. It just takes a really good photo by itself and is pretty much ready for you to share right away. It'll shoot hyperlapses just like the Air 2, but it won't shoot the 8K hyperlapse like the Air 2 does. This does do something the Air 2 does not, and that's master shots. Now master shots is a 2 to 3 minute flight path that this plans out automatically and takes a bunch of different shots, and then you can edit it with the app, or the app will edit it for you down to a 15 to 30 second clip of you in an area doing something cool. Really nice if you're a solo shooter like I am, to be able to have this sort of do it for you. The nice thing is too that you get the whole 2 to 3 minute clip that you can then use later. So if you're filming somebody else or filming something else and you want a 5 to 6 to 7 shot clip that you can pick between, this does a really good job at that and gives you a lot of options for footage that you can use to edit something together with later. So these are very similar drones. They have very similar flight speeds. They have similar flight durations, even though this is a couple minutes shorter or a few minutes shorter. They're very similar. They have obstacle avoidance, both of them. This has upward obstacle avoidance where this one doesn't. They both use OcuSync as a control signal, which is very strong, very robust over great distances. When it comes down to image, the Air 2S is going to win hands down because it has a much larger sensor. The 1-inch sensor and the 10-bit color is spectacular. And then if you shoot in 5.4K, you get really rich, really detailed images that you can color grade to your heart's content because of the 10-bit. The photos on this look great. They're very detailed, very clean. All of the imagery coming out of this drone is really clean and really nice, even in low light. I mean, if you're in a bright situation like I am now, either one of these drones does a good job as far as capturing imagery, but this still wins out by quite a bit just because of the larger sensor and the better color profile using 10-bit D-Log color. If you're in the market to buy one of these drones and you've been looking at them and you want to know which one to buy, I'm going to ask you what your intended use is. If you want to get the highest image quality and the best photo quality, if you want to go out and shoot at sunrise and sunset, then this is the drone for you because it definitely has the better image quality and will blow just about everything except for something like a Mavic 2 Pro or Inspire out of the water. This drone is incredibly good at producing really good images and really nice photos. But if you want to save a few dollars, but you still want a great travel drone that produces good video and decent photos, then this drone is not bad. It will take good photos, it will film good video, and it will do pretty much everything that this will do. Just maybe not quite as well because it's not the latest and greatest iteration, but if you want to save some money, then the Air 2 is still a great drone. Just be aware that the image quality is not on par with this. A little bit noisier, especially in low light, but again, if all you're doing is putting stuff on social media, websites, this drone will do great. I've done commercial work with this drone when I had it, and it worked just fine. Then the question comes, should you upgrade if you already own the Air 2 to the Air 2S? And the answer is, if you have money burning a hole in your pocket and you want the absolute best image quality and you want to use my affiliate links in the description, then yes, absolutely you should upgrade to the Air 2S because this does have much better image quality than the Air 2. But I will say, unless you really need the absolute best image quality and you're doing this professionally where you really, a little bit, that 10-15% will make a huge difference in your work, then the Air 2 is still fine. Now, if you do a lot of low light work, you probably should upgrade. If you do a lot of photo work, you probably should upgrade. But if you don't have money burning a hole in your pocket, and if you're willing to wait a little bit, then I would recommend you wait to upgrade from the Air 2 until we see what the Mavic 3 Pro or the 3 Pro or the Pro 3, or who knows what DJI is going to call the next iteration of the Mavic 2 Pro, and see what DJI has in store for that drone, because likely that will be quite a step up, especially considering everything they put into the Air 2S. We know that the 3 Pro or the Pro 3, whatever that's going to be called, is probably going to have this and a lot more to be able to command a much higher price tag. And then at that point, if you don't feel like you need all those features, then you could upgrade to the Air 2S. But if you have the Air 2 currently, and especially if you're just producing stuff for social media, websites, things like that, I mean, even real estate shoots and stuff, I don't see a huge reason to upgrade from this to this. Unless, of course, you want to use my affiliate links and buy through those, then, you do you. If you want to see other comparisons like the Air 2S and the Mavic 2 Pro or others like that, I put together a short playlist right there. Click or tap there. I'll see you in one of those videos as always. If you have specific questions, ask me in the comments below or join my live stream, which happens Wednesday nights, 4 p.m. Alaska time, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'll see you again soon in the next video. Cheers.